They say Halloween comes once a year. They're wrong. Halloween never ended. It just changed its costume. Now it wears a suit, a uniform, a smile. It hides behind office desks, church pulpits, and motivational speeches. Behind wedding vows and morning news. Behind kindness that tastes like marketing. The masks stayed on, and no one even noticed. Once, monsters feared daylight. Now they run meetings, sell faith, and post morning affirmations. They walk among us, shaking hands, selling hope, blessing lies. No one screamed when monsters appeared, because everyone already looked the same. We used to light fires to chase darkness away. Now we give it ratings. We share it. We sell it. Evil doesn't hide under the bed anymore. It rents office space and gives motivational speeches. We watch cities fall apart. We scroll through tragedies. We call it raising awareness. 1,000 stories end before breakfast. Someone says, "That's unfortunate," then scrolls to a cat video. The masks don't crack anymore. They just update like an app. Plastic smiles, holy slogans, corporate empathy in pastel colors. Even the devil would envy our efficiency. Once upon a time, monsters hid from humans. Now, humans hide from themselves. The difference between us and them, they pretended to be human for one night. We never stopped. So here's the truth. Halloween in reverse isn't a holiday. It's a habit, a daily performance we all forgot we were in. And this is the world that 5 monsters call home. The Vampire, CEO of Empathy Incorporated. Once upon a deadline in a glass tower above the city, there lived a vampire, not a creature of the night, a creature of meetings. He hunted in daylight, under fluorescent lights and PowerPoint slides. He didn't drink blood anymore, he drank purpose. He drained energy through performance reviews. He fed on the exhaustion behind polite smiles. Every Monday, he gave his sermon. He stood before his employees, faces bright, eyes empty, and said, "We're not a company. We're a family." And like all families, no one said how miserable they were. He spoke fluent empathy. He knew the buzzwords. Well-being, mental health, self-care. Each one polished like a fang. He built break rooms filled with beanbags, then doubled the workload. He sent cheerful emails that began with, "We care about your happiness," and ended with, "Due tomorrow." The office walls spoke louder than anyone. "We care, you matter, your energy is our fuel." It wasn't a joke anymore, it was policy. Late at night, he walked through the cubicles. Monitors still glowed. Coffee cups sat like trophies of fatigue. He smiled, not because of success, but because he could still feel them working. He didn't need things. He had deadlines. The vampire was proud. He had evolved. He didn't chase victims anymore. They sent resumes, they came willingly. And every time someone left, he whispered, "Another dream well optimized." He cast no shadow, but his building did. It stretched across the city, blocking the morning light. And in that shadow, 100 new leaders were learning his craft, how to look human, sound human, and quietly drain everything that makes life alive. Because Empathy Inc. doesn't sell kindness. It sells the illusion of being human. The Witch, Influencer of the Year. Once upon a timeline, there lived a witch, not in a forest, but on the internet. Her cauldron was a ring light, her broom a camera tripod, her magic, filters, sponsorships, and the desperate need to be seen. She used to cast spells, now she casts engagement. Every video began with her favorite incantation, "Hey, my beautiful souls." And millions obeyed. They clicked. They liked. They believed. Her potions had new names now. Glow Serum, Detox Tea, Forever Young in 3 easy steps. Each bottle was labeled with hope and sealed with insecurity. People didn't drink to heal, they drank to belong. She was the queen of wellness, her kingdom a grid of smiles. Perfect skin, perfect life, perfect lies. Every post was another charm to keep the illusion alive. The captions whispered, "You can be like me." The subtext screamed, "You never will." At night, she scrolled through her own feed, searching for the girl she once was. She couldn't find her, only her face, smoothed, brightened, replaced. Her reflection looked flawless and completely unfamiliar. She prayed to the only gods that still listened, the algorithm and the audience. They rewarded her devotion with numbers that sparkled like stars and vanished just as fast. Soon, brands began calling her a role model, a symbol of empowerment, a face of the modern age. No one noticed that the face kept changing, and one morning, the mirror showed nothing at all. The witch had finally become what she always pretended to be, an image, a ghost made of pixels and praise. They called her a success story. She called it immortality. But deep down, even she knew the truth. The curse had worked. She had erased herself perfectly. Narrator, final line slow. And somewhere between fame and nothingness, the witch smiled because disappearing had never looked so good. The demon, the politician of promises. Once upon a campaign season, there lived a demon. Not in fire, but in the spotlight. He wore a perfect suit, a flag on his lapel, and a smile rehearsed by entire committees. He didn't steal souls anymore. He collected votes. He fed on applause and on the silence that always followed. Every speech began with the same spell, "My friends, I hear you." And every crowd answered as if salvation came with free Wi-Fi. He promised everything, a better future, a cleaner world, lower taxes, higher morals, endless hope. Each promise was a balloon filled with air, released the moment the cameras stopped. He called it leadership. The crowd called it truth. The demon called it dinner. In meetings, he spoke about unity. Behind doors, he practiced division. He understood the secret art of power. You don't have to create peace. You just have to sell the illusion of control. Every scandal became a sermon, every mistake a message, every lie another line in the national anthem. And when someone asked him what he truly believed, he smiled, placed a hand on his heart, and said, "Whatever you need me to." At night, he watched the news. They called him inspiring. He called it free marketing. He didn't fear judgment. He hired it. He didn't fear justice. He funded it. Once, demons tempted humans. Now, humans campaigned for them. The crowd no longer begs for truth. It begs for comfort, and comfort always wins. The demon's greatest trick was not corruption. It was convenience. He didn't make people evil. He just made them tired enough to stop noticing. And every election night, he counts the votes, whispers amen, and calls it democracy. The ghost, the nurse of the forgotten. Once upon a quiet corridor, there worked a ghost. Not the kind that rattles chains, but the kind that holds hands. She drifted through the hospital halls like a breeze made of memory. No one noticed her, but somehow everyone felt her presence. She was assigned to the ones who had no visitors, no flowers, no names left in their charts. She sat by their bedsides, adjusted blankets that no one would see, and whispered stories about the world outside, a world that had already forgotten them. Doctors passed her without greeting. Nurses checked boxes, clicked screens, and called it care. She was the only one who remembered what silence sounded like. Sometimes an old man would stir and look at her through the blur. He'd ask, "Are you the angel?" She'd smile faintly and answer, "No, I'm the one who stayed." Every night, she lit the lamps one by one, not to scare away darkness, but to keep it company. Her presence was invisible compassion, no slogans, no metrics. Just warmth in a place colder than death. Outside, the world moved fast. People debated kindness between advertisements. Charity became a brand. Empathy, a hashtag. And in that noise, the ghost listened for something real. But all she heard was the hum of machines and the steady rhythm of forgetting. She didn't haunt the living. She pitied them. Because she had learned the simplest truth. It's not dying that scares people. It's being erased while still alive. When her shift ended, she looked around one last time. The beds were quiet, the lights still burning, and for a brief moment, the air itself seemed to thank her. Then she vanished, leaving behind nothing but calm. And in a world obsessed with saving lives, the ghost was the only one still saving souls. The devil, the therapist. Once upon a session, there sat the devil, not on fire, but in an office chair. He didn't carry a pitchfork, he carried a notebook. And he listened, patiently, professionally. He had traded the flames for calm music and the screams for polite conversations. Clients came in with smiles that trembled at the edges. They sat down, they confessed. They called it therapy. The devil called it research. They told him everything. The betrayals, the greed, the quiet cruelties no one ever saw. They spoke of guilt, but only the kind that still looked good in public. They spoke of love, but mostly for themselves. The devil never interrupted. He took notes, nodded, asked gentle questions. How did that make you feel? When did you first realize you liked control? He never offered advice. He didn't have to. They were already doing his job for him. Every session ended the same way. They'd thank him. They'd say, "You really helped me understand myself." He'd smile and reply, "That's exactly what I wanted." He didn't tempt anyone anymore. He didn't need to. People arrived pre-damaged, pre-justified, pre-approved by society. His role had become simple. Take notes, bill hourly, and applaud their honesty. Sometimes he wondered if hell even existed anymore. Then he looked at his calendar, fully booked, months ahead. He kept their secrets in drawers, neatly labeled and alphabetized. Not because he needed them, but because they made him feel human. And every night, before turning off the light, he read through the notes and whispered, "They don't even need me anymore." The devil doesn't burn souls now. He simply listens. He lets them speak. And the more they talk, the more he realizes he's the only one left who still believes in sin. And so, when the clock struck midnight again, the world didn't change. It didn't need to. It was already perfect. Perfectly artificial. Perfectly alive. Perfectly hollow. The vampire checked his calendar. Quarterly growth, up. Morale, irrelevant. Humanity, optional. The witch refreshed her feed. New followers. New filters. New emptiness. The demon smiled from the screen, talking about unity, while the crowd applauded the sound of division. The ghost adjusted another blanket in another forgotten room and whispered a story no one would hear. The devil took one last note and closed his notebook. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. His work was done, and no one even noticed he'd never left. Outside, the streets glittered with lights. Plastic skeletons danced in shop windows. Candy lined the aisles. Everyone celebrated the night of masks, never realizing they'd been wearing theirs all along. Once, monsters used to fear exposure. Now they fear silence. Because silence is where the truth lives, and truth has become the only costume no one dares to wear. The air hums with laughter, music, confetti, fireworks. It's not a party anymore. It's a ritual, a worship of appearance. And somewhere deep beneath the noise, a voice, soft, familiar, whispers what the world already knows. Halloween never ended. It just learned to smile for the camera. So go ahead. Put on your costume, say your lines, play your part. The monsters won't bite. They don't have to. They taught you how to do it yourself.